What's up guys, Perlin here again, coming at you from Ho Chi Minh City, and today we are joined by Aleks, who is a copywriter living here in Ho Chi Minh City. Thank you for coming on the show, Aleks.
Sure.
And could you give us a bit of a background about how you came to be living here in Ho Chi Minh City?
Yeah, well, actually, I've been copywriting for 7 years, and I started travel writing about a year and a half ago. It's going to be a year and a half ago soon. I was coming from Bangkok, and I arrived in Ho Chi Minh City with practically no funds, so I had to write for a living, and I've been living here for about a year and 4 months.
Okay, cool. So you came over here with virtually no money to Southeast Asia. How did you get your first couple of jobs copywriting when you came over with no money and you really sort of pressed to the wall to be able to survive on the road?
I think I had the advantage of leverage on my side. I was kind of pushed to get some sort of funds, or I'd literally just starve in a third world country, second world country, whatever. So I scoured online job boards for about 2 days straight, and then I found something at a publishing house. And that's how I first got my initial funds. And from then on, I just did more and more gigs, and now I'm where I'm at right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you rocked up with no money, and then you just went on different job sites, and you just sort of hustled to see if you can find a job in the copywriting niche. And then you just contacted them until you got a job that could pay your bills.
Yeah, exactly. The current job I have right now, actually, I found from an expired LinkedIn listing.
Okay.
And then I found the owner, and I emailed him personally, and I got the interview and the job afterward. And the job is basically travel writing. Mainly, I travel around Vietnam and write about cool destinations, review hotels, restaurants, do a bit of managing. Yeah, and I've had that for about a year and 4 months.
Okay. So there you go, guys. That's a great example of just rocking up, choosing to travel first, and then figuring out how you're going to survive and how you're going to continue traveling afterwards. So when I talk to a lot of people, they say, oh, I don't have the money to go traveling, and they want to save up a big amount of money before they even start traveling. So they want to save up 10,000 or so before they even get on the road. And this is one really good example of just rocking up and then getting a job and making it happen. Because when you have that pressure on you, you're not going to be messing around. You're not going to be sort of making excuses. You're going to be going out and finding jobs and getting work, because otherwise, you won't eat type thing. So this is a very fast way to be able to travel and get a job while you're traveling, because you're sort of backs against the wall and you don't have a choice. So that's one way to do it. Aleks, if you would give any advice to people who wanted to do something similar, what advice would you give them? And is there anything you would change if you had to do the process again in terms of getting on the road and then finding work?
The only thing I might change is maybe have some startup cash when you're moving to a new location. But that's even that's not necessary. And like you said, when your back's against the wall, you're pressured to do things.
Yeah.
I think ironically it's easier to do things or make money when it's a do or die situation, rather than when you have some backup support, a cushion of some kind. So for those hardcore enough, I'd say even you can travel with no money at all, and from then on just work with the leverage you got to get a job.
Cool. So now that you're over here in Ho Chi Minh City and you've been living here for a while, what's it like living overseas and living in a city that isn't in your home country?
Well, it's pretty surreal,
Yeah.
to say the least. I mean, it's opposite world because I grew up mostly in New York. And here the culture, the style, the language is all completely foreign to me. But that's the cool part of travel copywriting. Is that you kind of assimilate into different cultures and adapt different styles and kind of expand your worldview. So I kind of like this surreal opposite world effect that Southeast Asia and in particular Vietnam has had on me.
And so when I talk to a lot of people, they all say, I would love to get paid to travel. I would love to travel around and get paid to do something I love, which is travel. And we're doing something that's pretty close to that. Like, you're doing travel writing, so you're getting paid to write about travel things and cool destinations you've been, places like that. I'm doing YouTube primarily, so like I'm traveling around, making lots of videos, things like that, sharing it with you guys, helping you guys get on the road traveling. And I know that I'm not rich, like, and I didn't have a big chunk of funds to get me on the road to begin with. I just chose to travel, and I'm sort of figuring it out as I go. And it sounded like, I mean, you had a background in copywriting, so that was a skill that you could utilize, and you went traveling, and then you figured out how could you use the skills that you had to support yourself on the road.
Yeah, for sure. And the great thing about traveling to unsaturated destinations, and what I mean by unsaturated is in a country where things are still developing, where there's need for writers, programmers, whatever, people with skills and talent, because the country's on the rise. So in Southeast Asia, there's plenty of countries like that need copywriters, developers. There's always going to be someone who needs that person. And it's not like a market in New York where it's oversaturated and there's too much competition and too many players in the game. Here, people actually need you. So it's a lot easier to find a job and utilize those skills. So yes, if you do have a talent like that, definitely traveling and getting jobs along the way is easier.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add to that is, like, especially if you're coming from a English-speaking country and a well-educated country, usually it's a lot easier to find a job. And in these cities, like, you know, all through Southeast Asia and other places, it's a lot cheaper to live. So if you're from like America or Australia, you know, or like Western Europe, it's very expensive to live there. But if you choose to travel and to live in a cheaper country, you can either do less hours and have time for travel, or you can live here and you can save up, and then you can, you know, take some time off, travel around, do some more work, or you can travel as you're working type thing. So it gives you a lot more flexibility than if you had these high overhead costs that you had to pay in a more expensive destination, you know, with rent, your car, everything like that.
For sure, that's right on. There's a ridiculous misconception that you have to save up in your home country where things are much more expensive, then save up in a much cheaper country where the cost of living is a fraction of the cost and where you can save a lot more over time while still doing high-paid overseas gigs, you know, online. Yeah, it's just ridiculous how people think they can't travel until they save up enough in their expensive-ass country, when they could just move to a country where you can eat for $1 every meal and have like a 50-cent beer,
Yeah.
and still do gigs overseas and get the same amount of money, or almost the same amount of money as you do back home.
Awesome. Well, there you go, guys. This is a great example of how you can just come over, travel, and if copywriting is something you might be interested in, or just going overseas and living in a place like Ho Chi Minh City, hopefully this will give you a bit of inspiration to do that. Aleks, thanks for coming and sharing this information. If anyone wants to ask you some questions or get in contact with you, find out anything about what you're up to, where can they go to find that information?
I currently have a YouTube channel that I'm just doing for fun on travel writing and how you can get started in travel writing. It's called Aleks Travel, previously known as Aleks Vietnam, but it'll be Aleks Travel right now. Yep. And you guys can check out and comment on those vids.
Sweet, and I'll put all the links for everything that's mentioned in this video in the description. So feel free to click those links, check it out. Of course, my stuff is on Perlin's Adventure blog, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of those good things. That's it for now. Us signing out here from Ho Chi Minh City. Until next time.